Hello, welcome to Vest Top 5. I'm your host as always, Vest Guy. Today I'm talking about the top 5 Jason Statham films. So Statham has a long career of action films, some drama, and most recently he has the film The Meg. Shut up, Meg! There's so many memes out there with the character from Family Guy. They photoshopped it and placed it on the beach to make it look like that's the actual Meg. But no, that movie is supposed to attract people who like shark films, and I still think it's both a shark movie and a Jason Statham vehicle. So apparently the movie isn't doing very well here, but it's doing extremely well in China. And if you look at the cast, there are a lot of diverse cast. There's also a lot of Chinese actors in that film, because most movies right now are being targeted to Chinese audiences. But anyway, I'm going to go over the top 5 films of his career. Keep in mind, this is all an opinion. None of this is fact, especially when it comes from Best Guy. But joke aside, these films, it was kind of hard, because typically when I make a top 5 list, I try to center on the film where the character has started, where he's the centerpiece of the film. But Jason Statham has given performances in other films where he's not the lead and he stands out. So I'm going to break the rules a little bit and have some of the films that he's been in the past where he's not the center be in this top 5 list. So number 5 is a movie that not many people mention and a lot of people have forgotten about, and I thought it was not only decent, I actually genuinely like it. It's a movie called War. This was released in 2008 and stars Jason Statham and Jet Li. And at the time I was extremely excited because I was going to see Jet Li versus the Transporter, and it seemed really cool to have both of them in one film, and I was not disappointed. So the story's a little convoluted. Jason Statham plays a cop and Jet Li plays another cop who he's seeking out revenge towards Jason Statham's character, and I cannot say exactly what it is because it will reveal a plot twist, but it has a lot of good action sequences and all of it's practical. There's no use of CGI. I'm pretty sure there was some use of wires, but there's a really cool car chase sequence. There's a really great fight scene between Jet Li and Jason Statham and other actors towards the third act. I really enjoy it. Jason Statham's performance isn't that great. He's actually a very one-note actor. Unlike other performers who have a lot of range, they're very versatile when it comes to the characters that they choose. They can change their accent, they can change the way they look. Statham goes for just a very one-note kind of personality. He's a badass, he's good at what he does, and he always talks like this, I'm Jason Statham, I'm the Transporter. That's my terrible Jason Statham impersonation. The thing is that what makes him stand out isn't so much the acting, it's the charisma that he has outside of the character he plays. Kind of like he's playing an over-exaggerated version of himself, and he's really good with martial arts, because in reality he is always pretty fit and he's always good with martial arts, and they try to find a way to shoehorn that in sometimes into these films. So I wonder if the Meg has him fighting a shark doing martial arts. That'd be pretty interesting. But so yeah, War is a really good movie. I enjoyed it. I generally think it's a good action film. I don't think it's the most amazing film of his career, but I think it's worthy of putting in number 5. As I had mentioned before, there are other movies of his where he's not the centerpiece, but he does stand out, and that goes to my number 4. Number 4, we have Furious 7, which was released in 2013. The centerpiece, of course, is the whole ensemble of the family, as Vin Diesel's character mentions. It's Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Paul Walker, who had passed away during production of this film, and the villain played by Jason Statham. The thing with the Fast and Furious films, which most people dismiss them as dumb action films, I've been following the films since they first came out in 2001. They used to be simple street racing films, and they were stealing TVs and VCRs, and then they, now they're doing the most craziest stunts. But it wasn't until Fast 5 when The Rock was introduced that the series kind of like did a mini reboot, and they're all within the same continuity, but what I mean is that they got reinvigorated. And even more when Part 7 came out, because they introduced a really cool villain played by Jason Statham. Most of the villains in the previous films have been very forgettable. I remember them because I'm a fan of this series, but as a casual viewer, most people will forget most of the actors who appeared in all of these films. And not only the actors, but the plots involving these films. Whereas with Furious 7, I actually remember that Jason Statham's character wants to steal God's Eye, which is an actual piece of technology that doesn't exist, but it can track anybody anywhere. And he's also seeking vengeance for the death, for the near death of his brother. So they kill Han, who's part of the Vin Diesel, the Toretto family, and now they're going on a vengeance spree. Statham, again, doesn't talk too much in this film, but he stands out with his action and his presence. He always walks in, and curiously enough, they're always trying to track him down, but he always shows up wherever they are, so it's kind of like, I find it funny there when they do that. But the action sequences with him are very memorable. His entrances are always really cool, so that's why it reaches my number 4. And most people, when you mention the Furious films, they'll mention the most memorable thing being The Rock in the new films, aside from Vin Diesel and the other actors, but also Jason Statham as being the new villain anti-hero character in this franchise. And apparently he's so popular that they're going to give him a spin-off from that series with The Rock, and it's going to be called Hobbs and Shaw. I don't know exactly what they plan to do with that, if that's going to be a one-off or if they're going to do several films outside of the Fast and Furious franchise, because it's very popular, it's doing very well worldwide. So that's why it's reached my number 4 on this list. So number 3, this was kind of like, I had to put this here. And while it's not the most intelligent film ever made, and none of these are, but they're all kind of memorable when it comes to the actor of Jason Statham, so you have to keep that in mind. Number 3 is The Transporter. Transporter is a simple story of a man who literally delivers packages. And no, he's not delivering your Domino's pizza, he's delivering like bombs and illegal transportation of goods. And he has a couple of simple rules. He doesn't ask questions, he doesn't check the packages, he has no connections, and he's always very tidy and neat. And I kind of admire the character because he tracks everything down, like every fingerprint in his car, and he's very, very clean. So it kind of reminds me of how disorganized and dirty my life is. So sometimes I admire wanting to be like that, being a little more clean in my life. So, hey, I gotta be honest. So the thing with the film also is that it introduced for the first time a lot of the martial arts that Jason Statham does. Because before this film, he had appeared, I think, in The One with Jet Li, and you didn't get to see him much do anything other than running around with a gun and his really bad hairline, and eventually went completely bald by the time he did The Transporter. The other films that he did in Britain with Guy Ritchie did not show any of his martial arts talents. When it came to The Transporter, it did it, in a very neat way with little to no use of CGI. Unlike the subsequent sequels that went the CGI route, and they became very implausible. And while I enjoy them for how dumb they are, the first one is actually a pretty decent action film, and I actually care about the characters and the story. So, and Statham gives a performance that, like, it kind of reminds me, like, if this guy had a little bit more hair, and he could probably play a James Bond kind of character. It's the closest that we'll ever get to see Jason Statham.
Why can't James Bond be bald?
I mean, he could. I'm not saying he can't.
Your main reason was if he had a little bit more
Yeah,
hair.
well, again, that's me being biased because I always see Bond. Actually, let me not talk shit, because Sean Connery was bald when he did all the James Bond films. He was wearing a toupee. So I shot myself there. But no, Jason Statham could, if he was a little younger, I guess, he could play a James Bond. He's now reaching closer to 50. And so is Daniel Craig. The thing is that the Bond character should stay within 30 to 40, no more than there. It shouldn't reach up to 50, because we've had actors like, Roger Moore, who played the character until he was like 58. It's too much. But no, The Transporter is a good action film. It's directed by Luc Besson, and it's witty, it's smart, it's short, and none of the scenes are boring. There's a really cool soundtrack too, which I've listened to a couple of times. It mixes techno, rap, a lot of stuff within the film, and you wouldn't think it would work, being that it's a movie that has rap and rock and techno and taking place in France. But it's been done before, another Luc Besson production, which was Kiss of the Dragon. So, and they both are shot very similarly in terms of cinematography, curiously enough. So when it comes to number 2, these movies are very absurd. So for number 2, I'm putting 2 movies into one, because it's really just one big, giant, crazy, chaotic, fun, and it's the Crank movies. So I was just going to put Crank 1, but when you really watch Crank, you have to watch 1 and 2 together, because literally once part 1's done, part 2 picks up exactly where the first one left off. So it's like one big adrenaline rush, starting with the first film where he's injected with this Chinese synthetic drug that is slowly killing him unless he keeps his adrenaline up. So he needs to do crazy things like get epinephrine to keep his adrenaline up and drink a lot of Red Bulls and do the most craziest things on a motorcycle, run naked just to keep his adrenaline up to stay alive. And of course, when you get to the second one, which I actually enjoy more than the first one, it goes berserk. It admires the fact that it's so dumb. Like you even have in part 2, it's his heart who has been taken, and now his heart will slowly go slowing down if he doesn't get electrical shock. So there's a scene where he grabs a car and he puts the jumper cables on his tongue and some of them on his nipple to get electrocuted. It's really, really absurd. The way it's shot, I have to admit that it's bonkers. Like a lot of scenes are quickly, choppily, not only choppy edited, but it's uniquely edited. It's really, really fast-paced cuts. A lot of POV shots and scenes shot on GoPros, and it's very gritty. And I always recommend watching from 1 to 2, not watching 2 alone, because it's quickly goes up in craziness. So that's why it's on my number 2. And Jason Statham, it does really well with comedy when you believe it or not, because he actually goes completely free and does whatever the hell he wants. So, and there's like this crazy scene where he fucks his girlfriend in front of a whole live audience. It's really crazy fun. I enjoy it. But what can be number 1? So number 1 is definitely the Guy Ritchie film Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. I really like this film, and while Jason Statham isn't the main character of the story, he stands out. Believe it or not, before Jason Statham was an actor, he was a model. And before he was a model, he was a professional swimmer. And before he was a professional swimmer, he used to sell perfumes out in the street in London, kind of like a flea market. So when he was casted for the role of Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, he brought a little bit of realism to the kind of character he's playing in that film, which is very similar to how he really was at that point in time. The film is pretty much a crime story, and there's 2. There's Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and Snatch. Both I really like, and I think they're some of Guy Ritchie's best films, but it's also shows the type of range that, depending on the script and the director that you have, you can have Jason Statham bring out a good performance. So those are the top 5 films from Jason Statham. I don't think he's an amazing actor, but I think he's very charismatic and he's very good on the screen, kind of like what you have with people like Jean-Claude Van Damme. But here's the thing, with Jean-Claude Van Damme, I actually think he's a really good actor when he's in really dramatic roles. And I think maybe that could be the case with Jason Statham, but I haven't seen enough of it for me to say that he is, a multi-range, actor. So anyway, guys, I hope you like this video. Make sure to like the video. Smash that like button and subscribe and hit that bell button so you can get notifications on all these videos. And make sure to check out all the other videos on Dropping Loads. You have videos on Monday with ODG, Tuesdays it's me, and sometimes you have Milky's Way. Sometimes. I don't know what the hell has happened with him.
Sometimes. So mostly never.
Mostly never. And then you have vlog videos every now and then. There's a lot of cool stuff here. You can also find us on Instagram. And Instagram is Dropping Loads channel, where you can see all the updates. Also, you can follow me and follow everyone else like ODG on Instagram pages. All those will be on the description down below. And also on Fridays, You can check out reviews that I will be posting up very soon. Just movie reviews on, it's called Best Guys Movie Reviews. I'm going to be posting the updates on Instagram so you know when they're up. And also every now and then we'll be posting book reviews, which you can find on a separate page that's going to be called the Seba Book Chronicles, because outside of Best Guy I'm also known as Sebastian, so it's called Seba Book Chronicles. And that will also be updated every now and then on Instagram. So if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, if there was a Jason Statham movie that I missed, let me know in the section down below. Also let me know how the Meg was. Not too crazy about watching it, but I'm kind of curious to see what you guys think. So anyway guys, until next time.